The year is 2023. The episode is 15. That's right. Mouthbreathers Radio coming back at ya in a brand new year. We are talking about everything that has been film junk related from December 26, 2022 through to January 1st, 2023. We're going to be talking about what was really the only big film junk thing this last week, the live stream where we got all our questions answered. And because it is the start of a brand new year, we have got host Drew Nugent counting down his top 5 film junk moments from 2022. So lie back and enjoy Mouthbreathers Radio. And now, here is your host. You can call him Baby Drew Year. It's Drew Nugent.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mouthbreathers Radio. Hope you're all having a great new year. It's 2023 now. And how was your New Year's, FilmApe?
Oh, it was good. I mean, pretty chill. I believe that I started watching Bullet Train on New Year's Eve and slept through like an hour of it, I'm told, by my siblings, and then I think I was on the computer, and that was what I did for my New Year's Eve. So not that
nice.
exciting. I think yours was a little bit more exciting. You got a little meta with your viewings.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, ultimately, I really didn't do anything. I was just sitting in my room, but I lined up Phantom Thread because there's a scene in Phantom Thread towards the end where they go to a New Year's party and there's a countdown and everything. And if you start that movie at 10:14, well, exactly 10:14:47, so you have to wait exactly until you're 47 seconds in to 10:14. If you started then it will perfectly line up with midnight. The New Year's scene will line up, and when they count down, when they do the 10, 9, 8, it will turn midnight at the perfect moment. The balloons will drop, and that's what happened for me. Right when the balloons dropped, there was fireworks going off in real life in my neighborhood, and it was just a beautiful experience. Yeah, I love. There's a few different movies you can do that with. I did it with Iron Man 3 one time before, because there's a New Year's scene at the beginning of that. If you line that up, you can do that. But with that, it was like the scene was towards the beginning of the movie, and you still have like 2 hours of that movie left. So you're like, watching the movie until at least like 2 a.m. But with Phantom Thread, it was perfect. You start at 10:14. Once you get to midnight, you've only got 20 minutes of the movie left. And yeah, Phantom Thread is just the perfect New Year's movie.
So were you like munching on some mushrooms for that film? Some delicious sauteed mushrooms? Were you wearing like a big cowboy hat for while you were watching that? What was the vibe of your screening like?
I don't remember really. I was just sitting in my bed. I think I was eating some candy, but I didn't have many snacks aside from that. But it would be nice to make a nice big mushroom omelet and eat that during the movie. Some of the cooking in that, I love at the end when she's making the big mushroom omelet. It looks delicious, even though she's poisoning Reynolds. But it's a great film.
Yeah, for my friend's B-Day this year, his wife made him the breakfast that Daniel Day-Lewis orders when he first meets whatever her name is, and Alma, and that was like a big thing, and she gave him a card that said "For the Hungry Boy," and he like posted that to his family group. And I'm like, that's kind of a weird thing to do because there's some sexual connotations to "For the Hungry Boy." So I was like, that was kind of an odd thing to do, but Very cool, at least to get to experience some of the food from the film. Do you have you done that? Have you ever like eaten through a film, gotten something special for while you were watching a film?
Well, it's funny. I actually have that with another PTA movie. I went to a brunch screening of Inherent Vice when the movie came out at the Alamo Draft House. It was on 35 millimeter, or no, I think it was actually on a blow up, like a 70 millimeter blow up. It wasn't shot in 70 millimeter, but the print was 70 millimeter. Um, I saw that, and during the movie, during the scene where Josh Brolin is sucking on the chocolate banana, I was sucking on a chocolate banana. Um, and then when he was, screaming "Moto Panakeku," I had my pancakes in front of me. I was eating pancakes, and the Alamo Draft House had a catered menu, to where they, had these things on the menu. You could order the exact things that were being eaten in the movie, and yeah, that was pretty awesome.
You think PTA is a big food lover? I mean, he's a skinny guy, so I don't think he's eating too much, but he does put a fair bit of emphasis on food in his movies.
He might just have a great metabolism. He might just be able to crush stuff and not have any consequences. But I'm trying to think, like, Punch Drunk Love has lots of pudding in it. That could be a callback to Adam Sandler's snack pack days in Billy Madison. But what else? There'll
Well,
Be Blood.
well,
Can't think of
obviously
any
the
food now.
milkshake
Oh,
yeah, that's like
yeah.
literally like the biggest like meme food thing from a PTA movie.
That's more of a metaphor for like a drilling practice than an actual
Yeah,
milkshake.
true. But he has like a steak that he's eating in that scene, and he has like a
Mhm.
like is he drinking like milk or something? I can't remember. And then they
He's chugging
order.
vodka, which is actually
Okay,
something that like I've debated with friends and I've read about online because I always thought he was chugging vodka, like in the scene at the end where he's in the bowling alley. But my friend one time was like, he's not chugging vodka; it's just water. Like, why would he be doing that? Because it's just a clear bottle. Like, this is the 1810s, like or not the 1810s, it's like 1900, or I think at that point it was 1920. I don't think it'd be unbelievable that he would have a clear bottle, like glass bottle for vodka. The look on his face, he looks like he's chugging vodka. But I looked into it online and it's pretty much 50-50. Some people think he's chugging water, some people think he's chugging vodka. But I think somebody was saying, like, wow, he wouldn't be chugging vodka because he already looks drunk, he looks hungover. But then somebody else, which I think is the correct point, was like, he's at the point where when you wake up and you have a hangover, you immediately start drinking to get rid of that hangover. So yeah, I think he was chugging vodka in that scene. And he's eating steak. The steak looked good.
does Boogie Nights have any food in it?
That's a pretty good margarita towards the beginning. John C. Riley makes a margarita for Dirk Diggler. Oh, it has donuts. When Don Cheadle's walking through the donut shop and he's like pointing at the donuts, he's like, "Is this for the Christmas?" And some nice Christmassy donuts. That's all I can think of. Hard Eight has some coffee in it, coffee and cigarettes, which is a nice vibe. The Master has lots of like weird, crazy concoctions of alcohol. I'm trying to think of like any other food. All I can really think of is the alcohol. But like, yeah, Inherent Vice has tons of food. Phantom Thread has tons of food. Licorice Pizza. There's no actual licorice pizza in the movie, but um, I'm trying to think if there's any food in that. But I think it's coming to the top of my head.
We actually looked it up, and there was a recipe for licorice pizza that someone made, and it was like a black licorice pizza. What's the idea is if you cut up the black licorice, it acts as sort of like a sausage almost on the pizza and gives it a familiar flavor. And so the pizzeria guy was like, if you bring this into me, I'll cook it for you. You're gonna love it. And so I've wanted to try making actual licorice pizza. I think that would be good. But with our conversation here, I'm thinking that we found your calling, Drew, which is you need to write the Paul Thomas Anderson cookbook
Yeah.
and release it. I think that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, they have that Paul Thomas Anderson Masterworks book where it's pretty much just a piece of film criticism, but this guy, Adam Naiman, just goes through and analyzes each of the movies. But he has like paintings or drawings of the movies in there and stuff in there. But like, I should make my own version where it's, the cookbook, and that would be pretty cool. I agree.
So looking back on 2022, were you happy with your year in film, and more importantly, were you happy with the year in film junk? We're gonna get into your top five a little bit later, but what as a film historian, are you going to give it a good year, a bad year? What are you thinking?
It's definitely better than 2020. I'm trying to think of whether I think it's better than 2021 or not. Because, 2021 had Licorice Pizza. That's a big one. What else did it have? I'm blanking for some reason. The Best Picture winner in 2021 wasn't very good. That was Coda. I haven't even seen it. But I really have no interest in seeing it. Not that Best Picture really means anything at this point. But I think the Best Picture winner in 2020 was better. Not that Nomadland is fantastic, but I think it's better than Coda. Or I can only assume. In terms of this year, The Northman was a big one. That was my number one starting in like April, and it stayed that way. What else? I did enjoy The Whale. It felt a little slower than usual. Maybe like that's just kind of how it's been for the last couple of years. Like it's just I think I'm still thinking about the 2010s and being used to that pace. And there's definitely less good stuff coming out, but there's still stuff. It's not like it's not completely dead out there. And people say cinema's dying or cinema is dead, but I don't think cinema's dead until the very last movie comes out. So cinema's still out there, and there's stuff to be seen.
And as for Film Junk, you think it was a good Film Junk year?
It was good. Like I don't know. I think I said this before, but I think Film Junk is in a pretty great point in their history right now. I think they're kind of. I'm not gonna say this year was the very best year ever, but I think it's up there. I just think they're the most comfortable. They've been doing it for so long, and the soundboard era is great. Jay's he's having fun with the show for the most part, I think, and I think it was a good Film Junk year.
So we might as well jump into some live stream talk here. It's not going to be part of the top five because the top five is going to span all of 2022. But we did get a 2-hour live stream. That was the mailbag for December. But they were actually answering leftover questions from the November mailbag. And we got a clip here. Let's take a listen.
David, would Frank shopping at Costco and or making a return be considered slow cinema? How long do you spend at Costco?
Certainly not. I am very efficient at Costco.
Out.
I have a path. I walk very quickly. I know where I'm looking for new items. I think it's kind of exciting. Everyone complains, like, if I go to Costco, the lines are so long. I hate that place. Everything's worse. My experience couldn't be further from that. It's a very efficient path, get what I want, some cool surprises every time. There's always a surprise or two. Maybe something's got a 97-cent at the end. It's on clearance. I love it. We try to go at least every 2 weeks, and it's not slow at all. And returns, definitely not slow cinema. That's quick. No problems at all. I returned something last week.
What did you return?
Battery heated gloves.
What was the issue?
I got them to wear to Bills games because last time I went, my hands were freezing. And then you're not allowed to bring battery operated clothing or powered clothing into the stadium.
Wow.
Bummer.
Total bummer.
So you don't think you would use it in any other situation?
Certainly not.
Tailgating?
Well, we got like fires or heaters for tailgating. It's just...
Yeah. You don't want to get slammed through a table and have one of those batteries explode.
No, you can have it for that. You just can't have it inside the stadium.
Right.
So, Drew, were you on the live stream? Did you get to enjoy this magic live?
Well, unfortunately, I was planning on being a part of it, but I ended up doing some stuff to where I couldn't really participate. But I was there for about 10 minutes at the beginning, and I mentioned very briefly, I think, I told Sean that he had a great hat. He's wearing a nice Santa hat, and Sean said thank you. So that was what the gist of it. But yeah, I was there for about 10 minutes. I still haven't gone back to actually listen to the episode, but I will soon. But
that's kind of cryptic. That's cryptic there. Doing stuff Should we go into that a little? It feels like very intentionally trying to avoid explaining what you were doing.
No, I mean, I was just hanging out with a friend. I wasn't expecting, but he called and said, "Do you want to come over?" And I did. So that's what happened.
Friends are the enemy of film junk because your friends don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if they were great friends, then you'd be like, "Let's watch the live stream together," and everyone would be gathered around the Christmas live stream. But unfortunately,
that was the plan. But once I got there, because I watched about 10 minutes of it, and we were talking on the phone for a while, and then because he lives about maybe like 20 minutes away from me. Once I got there, it had already been like a couple hours, and he was willing to watch the live stream with me, but I turned it on, and they were just wrapping up, so it was perfect timing.
yeah, I think you got name dropped like early on in the live stream. I'm pretty sure. I didn't actually get there live until like just over midway, so then I watched until it ended there. And do you like these kind of live film junk things? Do you think they shine when they're doing it live? We'll do it live.
Yeah, I actually think it's fun. I think it's fun, like, because I can, like, with YouTube, I can throw it up on my TV, have them on my TV, and chat to them through my phone, and it's just a nice chill environment. They're there live, and I enjoy it. Back in the day, I was just thinking about this today. Like, they used to have tons of trouble with like TalkShoe. They would try to do these live shows, and I just think it's pretty cool that we're in the time now where we can do this stuff nice and easily through YouTube.
So aside from Sean saying thank you for your compliment, which he was looking very festive on the live stream, which I appreciated. Anything specific stand out during your 10 minutes on the live stream?
No, that was pretty much it. I think that's actually the only thing that sticks in my memory.
One of the big things, and it was kind of like swept under the rug, but I'm pretty sure it's the first time it's been confirmed, and I don't know if you were on it when this happened, but How to Build a Time Machine Blu-ray confirmed. So I'm assuming it's going to get a Vinegar Syndrome Circle Collective release. And the reason it got confirmed was because someone named Brett Harding made a comment, and then Jay made a comment back about how this guy's doing the art for that How to Build a Time Machine Blu-ray.
I did hear that, actually. Yeah.
So
and that is very exciting.
That's exciting news. Are you familiar at all with Brett Harding and his art?
No, I'm not. I didn't look it up or anything. It's obviously done by a different artist, but the art for Beauty Day was great. And that guy, I forget that guy's name.
Johnny Ryan is his name.
Yeah, Johnny Ryan. He did art for Funny Pages. If you look at the movie Funny Pages, which is produced by the Safdie brothers, all the comic art in that is done by Johnny Ryan, so that's pretty cool. But
yeah, if you're familiar with Johnny Ryan's work, he is like very explicit. Like his stuff is like, you're surprised that he's not getting like canceled left, right, and center with how far he goes. But I think that is kind of interesting that there's a kind of fringe artist like him working, and he did the Beauty Day, and then he did the Heavy Metal Parking Lot slipcover as well, and they're both gorgeous slipcovers.
Yeah, he's definitely got a big like Crumb influence, Robert Crumb, I would assume. And you can definitely see that in the movie Funny Pages, which has a big Crumb vibe. But yeah, I like him. I'd like to look into the person who's doing the How to Build a Time Machine art, and I'm definitely looking forward to whatever it may be. I mean, Jay said it looks fantastic, so
yeah, I just sent over his Instagram. I did a little sleuthing, and I'm pretty sure this is his. And the reason is because I looked through his Twitter, and on March 27th, 2012, from @Hitman_Harding, he posted last day of funding for How to Build a Time Machine. Check it out and pass it on. And he had the hot docs .ca doc ignite link there, which again 11 years ago, and that's very cool that he was repping Film Junk even way back then. And yeah, he's got some really cool art, so I cannot wait to see what the slipcover looks like. And then
I'm taking a little glance at it. It's pretty. His stuff looks good, but it's cool to hear that he is like a legit Film Junk fan. It seems so. Yeah.
and then doing even a little bit more digging, he does, as far as I could tell, he does effects work, particularly digital compositing, and at first I was reading it, it was like Space Jam, New Legacy, Jumanji, The Next Level, and it's like, okay, some high end stuff. But then I went on his IMDb, and his first credits were for Malik's Voyage of Time, and then he also worked on A Hidden Life doing visual effects. So I'm like, that is pretty cool that he was able to work with Malik, for Malik, and it just makes you think how small the world actually is, and how just a couple steps away from film junk is Terrence Malick, living alone, living a solitary life, but not that far away.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about like people who have worked for like on movies and whatnot. There's a guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, but his name was John Rocks. He was a Film Drunk fan. He used to write in a lot in the early days. I don't know if he still listens. I think he does, but he has like a letterbox and stuff. But he was like an assistant or something like that, like on a lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies. I think like The Village, like Unbreakable, like a bunch of them. He's a Philadelphia native.
Okay.
And I know M. Night always shoots in Philly, and he uses a lot of local people. But yeah, he worked on all M. Night's movies, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, going into my mind palace, I recall like the FJ guys had like some Shyamalan question that he was able to answer or something, and he had wrote in. So that is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I had a friend from high school who has now gone on. Not even really a friend, more of like just like a slight acquaintance. But he's now working on like Oppenheimer, which is insane.
Yeah, it's a small world. I think we sometimes think that there's a big gap between us and these people that are like creating the stuff. Even sometimes I think it feels that way, like there's a big gap between us and the FJ guys. I mean, I know you've rubbed shoulders with the greatness, but most of us are just peons, not having any interaction with them. But really, they're just people like us, Drew. They put their pants on one leg at a time. It just depends on how fat their stacks are in their wallet. That's the only difference. Yeah. So it is cool to see that people are out there working hard, accomplishing stuff, and doing cool work.
For sure. And yeah, I think the important thing to realize is that the Film Joint guys are definitely just people. And like, I'm sure Jay's intimidated whenever he is talking to some of the people that he's talking to when he's making cursed films.
But I mean, I don't know if you heard this part of the live stream, but it might suggest that one Frankie JJ Kinesic might not be a mortal man. I don't know if you heard this. He claims that he could easily, that's a direct quote, that he could easily eat 7 large bags of popcorn in a single day. And he said it would be so easy. And he said that he was going to, he had intended to get 3 large bags and eat them all during the live stream. Drew, do you think this would be possible?
I don't know. I mean, he claims it is, so part of me wants to believe him, but it does seem ludicrous. I would love to see this, though. I think he should pull like an LA Beast. I don't know how many people are aware of that person or that YouTuber, but he's a guy who will do tons of food challenges, and he's stuck his hand into hot ice, things like that. But yeah, Frank should just sit for a YouTube video and just gorf like 3 to 5 bags of corn until he can't. And I'd love to see that.
So again, he claims 7 large bags of popcorn.
7.
That's in a single day. So I ran the numbers. Drew, I don't know if this is available to you guys in the US of A. I don't know if this is a thing in Texas, but all restaurants have to have their nutritional information available. So you have to be able to pull it. So I went to Cineplex and actually pulled the nutritional information for their large bags of corn. So I ran all the numbers, and I do not think this is possible. And I think that if it was done, it would be at a detriment to Frankie's health.
It'd definitely be
So
a detriment to his health.
so what we're
For sure.
talking, just basics here. So without butter, we're looking at 880 calories for a large Cineplex popcorn. And with butter, we're adding an additional 320. So we're looking at 1,200 calories per bag with butter. So that for the large with butter, we're looking at 8,400 calories, which is a lot. Like Frankie's fit. Frankie was talking about doing sports in the live stream. That was like his big thing, is that he plays like a half dozen sports. He's good at sports. He just kept talking about that. I'm guessing he's probably not going to be able to burn off 8,400 calories from that corn.
Yeah.
So then I did the weight, which is 174 grams per bag, which if you multiply that by 7 and convert it to pounds, we're looking at 2.7 pounds of corn. That is a lot of corn.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And then the final number, which is probably the one that would result in possibly going to the hospital, is we're looking at 5,040 milligrams of sodium. And the daily recommended intake is no more than 2,300 milligrams. And apparently the ideal diet, based on the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, is 1,500 milligrams per day. So almost 5 times the amount of sodium that a human male should be taking into their body in a single day. So, Drew, now that you've heard all that, do you think it would be possible?
Well, I don't think it would be. I'm going to say no because, I mean, I don't know if he's actually done this. I don't know if this is why he says that he thinks it's possible. I think it's a lot like, when he claims he's seen Major League 500 times. I don't think he's actually seen it that many times. But, yeah, I don't think it's possible. If he did attempt it, I would guess that once he got to that point where he's like, on the 5th or 6th bag, he would start throwing up. But I definitely would. Like popcorn, like I used to have a thing where I would always, like when I was a kid, every time I would eat popcorn in the movie theater, like I would throw up every single time. Not like in the theater, but like every time I went home, like in the middle of the night, I would end up throwing up. And that even still persists today. Like I don't throw up, but like if I eat a bunch of popcorn in a movie theater, then like I just feel sick at night. Like I just feel like, completely messed up, or my stomach, I'm just completely nauseous.
What do you think it is? Like, if you ate popcorn, like, not at a theater, would you feel the same way? Or do you think it's just the oil that they're using? Or the, like, butter substitute? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's, like, the oil and the butter. Like, I think movie theater popcorn is it's a lot worse than, like, just, microwavable popcorn or something. Yeah, it just sits as, like, a rock in your stomach, and, like, it's just gross. I'm not a big popcorn fan, honestly, especially movie theater popcorn. I mean, I do eat it sometimes. But yeah, there's something about it that like, makes me sick. And I know Frank loves popcorn, movie theater popcorn specifically, so it could be different for him. But if he ate that, maybe he would be capable of eating that much corn, but it would definitely be a detriment to his health.
So my thought is that we need to get a petition going for a live stream of Frankie Gorfin corn. And we need 7 bags lined up, and we need to see if the man, the legend, can actually do it.
When he says bags, is he talking about like these garbage bags that he's talked about that he used to get from the movie theater?
Yeah, I guess I have to. So like we don't have like I don't know if you go to the theater, does it come in a bag? Do they give you a bag, or does it come in like a circular tub, or what are you getting when you go get corn?
Well, when I go to the theater, I get like a tub, like it's not exactly circular, but it's kind of like a cube shape, kind of. Yeah, but he said that when he worked in the movie theater, like he would take home bags of corn and like garbage bags. Like I used to work in a movie theater in Missouri, and people would come and buy corn because they just love movie theater popcorn for whatever reason, and they just wanted to take it home, and we would give it to them in these large clear bags. So that's kind of what I'm imagining. I'm imagining one of these large clear bags that you can get or at least people were able to get when I worked at a movie theater.
Yeah, so pretty much generally at the major theaters in Canada, we don't have tubs. It's bags, so it's like bagged corn. And so when he's referring to 7 large bags, he's referring to 7, like a large bag that if I was to go up and order, that's what they would give me. It wouldn't be in a tub. It would be like in a paper bag. I'll get a photo and send it over to you.
Oh no, I can imagine that. I've had those before. Which when you're saying bag, for some reason I was like imagining like a loose bag, but these have like it's like a sturdy shape. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a rectangle. It's like a monolith, a cinematic monolith of corn that's just standing up, and they just fill these suckers to the brim. And then the theater that I go to, they have what they refer to as a patented butter method. So it's like a rod. So they stick the bag up, and the rod goes to the bottom of the bag, and then it's supposed to evenly distribute butter throughout. I have not eaten cinema popcorn. I don't know how long. I have not. I, like you, I'm not a fan at all. I like homemade popcorn, but even then it's not that much. But cinema corn I'm not a big fan of. But I do have friends that they just gorf the corn. And I remember doing a double feature at the cheap theater with somebody who I'm friends with their older brother, and them I don't hang out with a ton, but they refilled their large corn, and then we were going to go to a restaurant in between, so they stashed their corn behind a bush near the theater. And like this wasn't like a rough area, but it wasn't like the cleanest nice area, and there were like transients walking around, so we like stashed the corn. I mean, the restaurant we were going to, it turned out to be closed. So we were gone for maybe 20 minutes, and then he just came back, grabbed his hidden bush corn, and then decided to eat it. And I was repulsed by this and the idea that something could have done something to the corn.
Yeah. That's pretty gross. Somebody could have pissed in there. Who knows?
Totally. But I totally imagine Frankie stashing corn for later and not having problems
Frank
with it at all.
that he used to. I haven't heard of him stashing corn, but when he worked at the movie theater, I think he said that he would like there'd be corn like left over like on the seats or whatever, like you know, tubs or like bags of it or whatever, and he would just grab some and eat it like willy nilly, just take people's corn.
Yeah, maybe Frank is just evolved so that corn it doesn't do anything to him, and no matter if it's butt corn, if it's seat corn, he can just nom on it, gorf on it until the cows come home. So again, if you're listening to this, if you're on the Discord, let's get something going to motivate Frankie, who again claimed it would be so easy to eat 7 large bags of popcorn in a single day. Let's get some buzz around getting this happening on a live stream sometime in 2023.
Sure. And one more thing, I must admit that when I saw the original Avatar in 2009, I think it was before the movie, or maybe it was after the movie. I think it was after the movie. I saw a big tub of popcorn sitting on top of a trash can, but the popcorn didn't look like it had been affected by the trash can. It was just sitting on top, and I grabbed some of that and just ate it when I was about 16 years old.
You were a wild man when you were 16.
Yeah. One time I ate a burrito that was in a parking lot that was on the ground.
Serious?
I don't know. I was out of my mind, but it was wrapped up in foil, and I opened it up and took a bite. That's pretty much the craziest thing I've probably ever done. And that was probably when I was about 17, so it was around the same time.
And I was working with somebody, and we were at an A&W. And A&W is actually good in Canada. It's different than in the States. Like the A&W would be like top tier. So when like Sean's talking about A&W, for the most part, it's widely known that A&W is the best fast food in Canada. It's pretty much just agreed upon. But they screwed up like orders like crazy while we were there. and I had already ordered, and the person I was with didn't order, and they threw a burger in the garbage, and then he was like, "What are you doing? I'll take that burger." And the lady was like, "Out of the garbage?" And he's like, "Yep, I'll take it." And so she was like disgusted by this, but because they had so much free food, like food they screwed up, she just grabbed a burger off the warmer and just gave it to him. And I was like, I just paid like $8 for that thing. And and that goes to show this guy, he's a smooth operator. He's a man dime, and that goes to show in regards to what Frankie says, that the better looking you are, the easier life is. That was a testament to me that good looking people, they just walk around. They don't even have to eat burgers out of the garbage. They just get given free burgers. So if you're willing to eat a burger out of the garbage, sometimes you get a fresh burger, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it. I might try to pull that off sometime.
Should we get into the top 5, Drew?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Launch commit. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Okay, Houston, roll complete. Roger, roll complete.
So we are going to be counting down Drew Nugent's top 5 FJ Film Junk moments of 2022. And you said it was a good year for Film Junk, and now you're going to prove that it was a good year for Film Junk. So, Drew, what is your number 5 best Film Junk moment of 2022?
Well, number 5, I have the Morbius review. So every year, or almost every year, Film Junk likes to do a little April Fool's piece of content. And this year, this was that piece of content. But I thought it was a lot of fun. They had a weird little, I don't know exactly what it was. It was some sort of AI generated content, or I don't know. I mean, we have a clip here. Maybe we can discuss what exactly this is.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special bonus episode of the Film Junk podcast, recording on April 1st, 2022. My name is Sean.
And my name is Jay.
And my name is Frank.
Coming up on this bonus episode, we'll be reviewing the highly anticipated Spider-Man spin-off Morbius, and possibly talking about a few other things we watched as well. Fair warning, it's probably going to be a shorter episode. Jay's schedule freed up at the last minute, so we thought we would still try and bang out a quick one. So Jay, does this mean Cursed Films Season 2 is officially in the can?
I guess you could say that.
Anything else exciting happening with you guys this week?
Lots of Kirby. Definitely a lot of Kirby. I think I've sunk about 40 hours into it.
Game of the year.
Certainly not. Maybe if there was more shooting. Have I ever talked about the fact that shooting is one of the best game mechanics because it's so fun?
Yes.
Have I ever talked about how Nintendo fans give everything a pass and are fine with games being delayed if it means the product will be better?
Yes.
Have I ever talked about the fact that Breath of the Wild is an overrated game and most people who gave it a perfect score didn't even finish it?
Yes.
Have I ever talked about the time when I worked at the Seaway Cinemas and I was fixing a light or something and someone came up and said something and I didn't let them into a movie because I'm a narc?
Yes.
Have I ever talked about the time that I was going to buy the drive-in for $140,000?
Yes.
Have I ever talked about the time that...
Yes.
I guess my first question, Drew, is do you think that is better or worse than the recommended reading show that came out?
I think I've heard that, but like I don't have a strong memory of what exactly it was like for some reason. But I thought I'm gonna say better just off of a guess. But I was so originally I think I thought this was some sort of AI generated piece of content. I heard somebody on the Discord or something talking about it, saying it was like probably like a script, and I think that's probably the best way to look at it. Like, I think Jay wrote a script, and then they read it out, and then he, manipulated it in editing. But I thought it was a pretty creative and fun piece of content, so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on with the audio because it sounds like it's been manipulated sometime, but. What I was thinking, because I know Adobe has that thing where they can like take, as long as they have X amount of voice recordings, they could take that and you could just type stuff. But this was like years ago. I actually remember like Jordan Peele was like on stage hosting something, and he was demonstrating how this worked. But I'm not sure if that's public now or what. But yeah, I don't know of anything that would be able to produce AI voices that well. But I mean, maybe there is something out there. Do you think that maybe Film Junk will just go completely AI in the future, and then it will just automatically, you'll just punch in Sean will just punch in like the movie of the week, what everybody watched, and then it just generates an episode?
Very well, we could get to that point within 10 years. I've read about programs where you can punch some stuff in and an AI will, write an entire paper for you. And that stuff already exists. So in 10 years, we could be there. You never know.
So then for you, making this the number 5 FJ moment of 2022, what makes it stand out? What makes it memorable? What makes it must listen to content?
Just the fun, creative energy. Like, I love the movie review shows that they would do for April Fool's Day. I don't think this is quite at that level, but it's still a lot of fun. And I thought it was a nice piece of Patreon content. And that's ultimately my reason for why it's at number 5.
Do you think that when they don't do a April Fool's episode, it's kind of worse it makes the year worse?
I'm gonna say yes. I think every year they don't do a movie review episode makes the year worse. Because I think a movie show or whatever that was called, the movie review show. Because I think they could do that every year, and we would all be better off for it.
You ever pulled any amazing April Fool's Day pranks, Drew?
No, I'm not smart or creative enough to really come up with a good one. I've never been able to come up with something that would be like mind blowing, which is what I would think I would want to do. But yeah, how about you?
No, I generally am like midday, like after reading some stupid story on some website, then I'll be like, oh yeah, it's April Fool's today. And when the movie review show was prolific, and I mean, it was always nice that coincidentally they found a new tape that corresponded with them being able to release it on April 1st. So I was just very appreciative that was just how things really played out for Film Junk. And if anyone has not listened to the movie review show, they definitely should check it out, because you're going to get an insight into the history of really like the children versions of Sean, Jay, and Frank, and for one episode, the adult version of Reed. And
hanging out.
Yeah, you're just really going to you're gonna really better understand them and appreciate that Jay's uncle let them record in his recording studio, and yeah, just great stuff.
Frank's parents really got on to them one time where they were drinking Jolt Cola, and they just started going nuts in the basement, and then Frank's parents weren't having it. They started getting mad, but that was great.
Do they still sell Jolt Cola in the States? Because I wish they still sold it here.
I think maybe like as a novelty, like in some places. I certainly haven't seen like mass quantities or anything, but I think I've seen like a can here or there. But I'm not sure if it's even caffeinated anymore. Well, maybe it was slightly caffeinated, but wasn't it promoted as like an energy drink, like basically?
Yeah, like it was just early days, like super caffeinated cola is what it was, but you could get it in like a huge container. Yeah, I guess I keep forgetting that I'm like, I'd say Drew and I are contemporaries. I am like, I guess like I would have technically have like been graduated when you were like coming into high school, or maybe even like just in the end of junior high. So in my early high school days, Jolt Cola was what everybody drank, and it was like just, again, you got the Jolt because you were drinking like tons of sugar. You were drinking like 1.5 liters of cola basically that was hyper caffeinated. So it was a little different than an energy drink, which I think is supposed to be scientifically calculated to get your buzz on. But Joel Cola was just literally like go and drink a ton of cola. So
I mean, when I was a kid, I already saw like Red Bulls everywhere. I didn't drink Red Bull myself, but I grew up like addicted to Coke and not cocaine, but Coca-Cola, and addicted to that and Dr. Pepper and all kinds of sodas. So I've never been really affected by caffeine too much, other than black coffee. I seem to be affected by that, but even drinking a Monster, I'm not too caffeinated, or I'm not too affected by the caffeine. Like I can drink a Monster at midnight and still go to bed.
Monster at Midnight, the Drew Nugent story. Great name for your autobiography. Yeah, I drank.
That is a good title.
I drank a original flavor Monster for the first time, or not for the first time, like for the second time, first time in a long time, and that is like the most disgusting tasting thing. Like I much prefer Red Bull over Monster. I don't know if you have a go-to flavor of energy drink that you enjoy.
No, I also hate the original Monster. I only drink Monster Zero Ultra, which is in the white can. I find that delicious. But yeah, I'm not a big fan at all of the original Monster.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of people that the zero sugar is the one to go with. That seems to be, at least in my peer group, that's the one where people are drinking it the most. But I mean, the Film Junk, I think, was ahead of the curve on that one a little bit too, because I didn't know too many people drinking Monster Zero Sugar until they brought it up. So
I think that's when I got into it, honestly, was in the Monster days, like right when that started. I remember Jay being impressed, like just holding the can and feeling the design of the can.
The emboss.
Yeah, the emboss. But yeah, those were the good days. I miss those days.
Drew, what is the number 4 on your top 5 of 2022 list?
Well, my number 4 is Doug Nagy returning. I've always been a big fan of Doug Nagy, and it had been a long time since he had been on the show. And I think we have a clip.
Coming up on this week's episode, we've got a review of The Northman. We're also going to be talking about some other stuff we watched. Who knows what else we might get into. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to have you guys with us. We also have a pair of very special guests joining us. Start with Mr. Dax Gordine. Welcome back to the Film Junk Podcast.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. And we've also
let's get the real guest here. Let's get to the real one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. We're welcoming back somebody who has not been on the show for, I don't know, I want to say 8 years, maybe more. I don't know. But Mr. Doug Nagy, welcome back to the Film Junk Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. International friends, it's a pleasure. I love all of you, and it's a real privilege to be here today. And I'm very excited to be talking about a Viking sword and sandal movie. So it's timely, and I appreciate it.
You are a liar!
So Doug Nagy back for 2022, talking about The Northman. And while I was listening to that clip, Drew, do you remember the podcast that he had where they talked about sword and sandal movies? Do you remember what that was called?
Oh, man. I do remember because I was a fan of it. But the Macho Movie Review.
Yes.
I think is what it was called.
Yes,
yeah.
Totally.
I've wanted to listen to those again, but I think those are lost to time. Yeah, but I was a fan of that. There was one guy who's a friend of Doug's who was on one episode of Film Junk. It was on the Last House on the Left episode of the remake. And his name was Wintle. And I always thought he was a great addition. I thought he was really entertaining and funny. And he was on the Macho Movie Reviews. But I wish he would have participated more in the show because I thought he was great. But yeah, I was a big fan of Doug back in the day. Still a fan of him now. But yeah, it was great to see him return.
So have you been following Doug on his social media until recently? So have you been keeping up with what he's been doing, or was this a surprise for him to to show up, and you were just happy to catch up with him.
Well, it was a surprise to hear him show up again because I just didn't know if he was, interested anymore of really being on the show. But I'm glad to see that he was. But yeah, I've kept up with Doug a little bit. I've talked to him a bit on Instagram here and there. I follow him on there. He's been a supporter of the channel, of my channel, Nugentino Cinema. Like, he's commented on a bunch of my stuff, and he's a really awesome guy. But yeah, so I'm a big fan of his. And I hope to see him on more shows. He was on I think the last one, he was on the Thor: Love and Thunder show. Sean always tries to get him in on like the Norse themed sword and sandal type stuff. But so I don't know how many of those kind of films are coming out this year, but The Northman was definitely a perfect film for him to review.
Well, and he named his son Thor, right?
Right. Yeah, I think he did.
And he goes by Hezekiah Wolfowitz on social media, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he just changed that. Like, I think he changed it back to Doug Nagy. But I'm not sure. I think Hezekiah Wolfowitz has some sort of biblical significance. But it's also just to be funny. But, but he did, interestingly, I think he grew up, or at least it was like in his teen years or something, but he was really into the church, the Christian church. And he was like into speaking tongues and all this stuff. And that was interesting. He's talked about that on the show. But I actually had him in my, if anybody wants to dig deep into the vaults of Vimeo, if you go to look up Nugentino on Vimeo, he's in my movie Zomba. Not movie, using movie very loosely, but he plays Satan in my first short film that's available. Yeah, so that might be an interesting thing to poke.
So, Drew, why should people take this as your number 4 moment of 2022 for Film Junk over all the other moments that there could be? Why is Doug Nagy coming back to the show? Why is that a big deal?
Well, I just think it's really nice to hear them return to some of their classic guests. And I always thought Doug was a really funny guy. And if I had one small criticism, it would just be that he's a little quiet on some of these episodes. But I can understand because, he hasn't been on the show in a long time. But I hope he gets to do more. He was on those 2. He was on the Thor: Love and Thunder episode. He was on the Northman episode. He also did the TV Junk with Greg. He was on the Pam and Tommy episode, I believe. But he's also a good friend with Greg. I believe they worked together at the Hamilton Mall for a while. So they created a bond. But yeah, I just thought it was just great to hear him return to the show. And so that's why it was my number 4.
Like, by work together, they worked in the vicinity, but I feel like it was never clear what Doug did there. Did you ever grasp that?
I'm not sure exactly. It's just they didn't work at the same place. It was just that they were both in the mall, I believe. I don't know I think maybe Doug was working at some sort of office within the mall or something, but I'm not totally sure. But yeah, they could both, bond over the fact that they saw tons of crazy things happen in Hamilton. Apparently it's a place where you'll see lots of stabbings and just sketchy things. So.
And speaking of sketchy things, Drew, what is your number 3 on the list?
My number 3 is a big one. And I think stuff like this is why I love Film Junk and why this was a great year in Film Junk history. But my number 3 is the Sex World review. So early on in the year, I think maybe it was about February, I think, they entered the world of adult cinema in terms of a main review on the show. And I love to hear it. I had the Sex World 4K, and it would give me an excuse to actually sit and watch it. And yeah, I thought it was great. I think we have a clip of it.
Coming up on this week's episode, we've got a review of Steven Soderbergh's Kimmy. We're also going to be reviewing Sex World. That's right, Sex World, our very first adult film review here on Film Junk. Could be a new high, could be a new low, I'm not sure. Can't wait to find out. But
I think we should say this is the responsibility of patrons voting. This is not my doing or Sean's doing.
We had no choice.
Or mine.
No, it is. You put that one up there, bud.
They voted. They voted.
We were each allowed to put 2 movies up for nomination, and Jay picked Sex World.
We all knew
It's
what
not
was
the
gonna
only one I
happen.
picked.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Sex World.
Sex World. Go on a spree.
It does have a pretty solid theme song. I will give it that. So this is a Vinegar Syndrome release.
Yep. I got to watch it in beautiful 4K, which was amazing. Comes with the soundtrack too, right there. Yeah.
So, Sex World, as reviewed on episode 835. Drew, you're a super huge fan of adult cinema. Just recently acquiring one of your favorites again.
Yeah, I just bought again, and not to go too deep into why I rebought it, but I bought Hot and Saucy Pizza Girls during the Vinegar Syndrome sale. Had to have that. It's a cornerstone of adult cinema. And for one, I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of adult films. I just kind of like the kitschiness of some of this stuff, specifically in the 70s. But yeah, with this episode, one, I thought it was cool to see them get kind of like, not experimental, that seems like a weird word to use, but just outside of their comfort zone, doing some weird stuff for fun. I thought that was great. We got some classic Jay singing. So that's why I thought it was a great review.
Were you happy with the quality of the review? I felt like they were standoffish a little bit. I think it was probably difficult to be like critiquing certain elements. I haven't seen Sex World. Familiar with Future World and Westworld, but not familiar with Sex World. So do you think there is a lot that they could have critiqued? Do you think it's the best review that it possibly could have been?
Maybe it's not the very best review that it could have been. I can see what you mean. Like, I think maybe Frank and Sean were a little bit standoffish, but Jay was really pushing this one. But I still thought it was great just to hear it at all. And yeah, I thought it was a fun review. And yeah, it maybe would have been better if Sean and Frank were a little bit more open-minded. Not that they really had to be that open-minded, but I don't know. I thought it was a decent review overall.
So do you think there is a difference between the adult cinema of the 70s and what I would struggle to refer to it even as cinema for what is being made these days? Do you think there is a difference? Do you think there is artistic worth? And do you think that it should become a regular thing on Film Junk that they review classics from the yesteryears of adult cinema?
Well, I wouldn't say it should become a regular thing, but maybe once or twice a year could be interesting or fun, or maybe it's some like side Patreon content. But yeah, I'd love to see that. But in terms of like comparing that stuff, the 70s porn films to now, there's a huge difference. Like, I would struggle to call a lot of stuff now films. There's some stuff out there that probably tries to be kind of like a film, but none of it is shot on film, for one. And that was a big thing with this. Like, in the 70s, it was all shot on 35 millimeter. And this stuff was playing like in real deal theaters. There may be like sketchier theaters, you know, in weird parts of town, but like it was still a theater where it was being projected on 35 millimeter. And a lot of these people that are in these movies thought of themselves as stars. And, you know, this is all explored in Boogie Nights. And a lot of the reason why I am interested in some of this stuff is because I'm, you know, a huge fan of Paul Thomas Anderson, and Boogie Nights was for a long time my favorite movie of all time. And yeah, so I just have an interest in that. But yeah, so there's definitely a big difference between the 70s films and what is done now. Like, now it's a completely different world.
Yeah, we were talking about adults, like actual adult cinemas, and I pulled up an article from Vice for the one that I am most familiar with, having never been there, but there was one in Vancouver that I believe closed in 2013 called the Fox Cinema, and that's one that had been around for a long time, and I believe continued to be an adult theater until it closed, and now I think it's just was renovated and became like a mixed-use venue for different art stuff. So do you think that we lost something when these dirty movie theaters went away?
It's hard to say. Like, I think a lot of people could look at it like we're better off. It's sketchy stuff can rise from that part of society, but this is like explored in Boogie Nights. Like, usually this stuff doesn't end well at all, but but there is some nostalgia to be had. About the old days of like New York City, and it's nostalgia for something I never got to experience. But like from what I've seen, like in movies like Taxi Driver, like I wish I could have gone to some of the. We were talking about this earlier too. Like I wish I could have gone to these like 24-hour grindhouses. I wish I could have gone to some of these upscale adult theaters. It's something that is like completely lost now, and apparently I think there is in Houston, like maybe like one adult theater, but it's not really like a real theater. Like it's within like an adult bookstore, like a video store. And I would never go to it because I would just be too it would be too creepy. But, and I think of this stuff, like, it's not like they just play, not like anything that would be considered like what I would think of as a movie. Because if I was going to go to this place, I would want to see something from the 70s, but I'm pretty sure they're just playing whatever random shit comes out now. So, but yeah, that would be very weird. But there's also apparently a porn theater in Tyler, Texas. That's like an actual adult drive-in that still exists. And that's like 5 hours away. I've always like wanted to go there just as like a weird, like just see what it's like. But I would also be nervous about that too.
Do you think they're actually showing like 70s stuff there?
No, like I said, I think like within, like it's kind of like an adult bookstore, but like how like a drive-in will have like a building where they have like the concession stand and everything. Sure. It's like that, but the building is an adult bookstore. But then at the top, they have like a projector that projects out the back onto the drive-in.
Okay, I'm looking at it. I found the sign: Apache Drive-In, XXX adult videos and books.
Yeah, this is a pretty strange place. I don't know if you've ever heard of a website called Atlas Obscura.
Nope.
But it's like an interesting website where you can you'll look into a city, and so say you're going to San Francisco or wherever, you can see like what the strange sort of off the beaten path places are in that area. And I read about this place on Atlas Obscura, and yeah, it seems pretty weird.
Yeah, it seems like they were closed on Christmas. So let me see. I'm going to this website. Captain Chicken Cultural Collective.
I don't think I've ever been to that website.
Yeah, this was what was their official website. So I think it would be interesting to see Film Junk really become experts in adult cinema, and maybe make their way, and maybe they can meet up with you, go to Tyler, Texas, and experience this Apache Drive-In together.
We could hang out with all the other degenerates.
Do you honestly think they will ever review another piece of adult cinema?
Well, I was actually about to say, I just remembered, I think Colin the Dude was tagged Sean. He was like, you guys should review another adult film. And then Sean was just straight up like, I don't see that happening. So, yeah, I doubt it'll happen, but I wish it would, because I think there's some interesting stuff they could explore.
So, Drew, what's number 2 on the list?
Well, number 2 is the Sean E.T. connection. And yeah, I think we have a good clip of this here.
Yeah, so to set the mood, this is from episode 848 when they reviewed Men. And I cut in, when I was finding this clip for Drew, I cut in a little bit later, but what is happening is Jay has just been talking about the film Falling in Love from 1984 that starred De Niro and Meryl Streep, and he's looking for a song from it. And so he's still involved in that. And then Sean starts talking about Once Upon a Time in America, and it goes from there. This is probably our longest clip, so lie back, relax, enjoy.
Well, I can piggyback on your De Niro watch and talk about something I watched. Once Upon a Time in America. Kind of mentioned that after watching the Godfather movies, I was kind of itching. I'd never seen this, and I was like, I'm kind of in the mood for it. But of course, it's like almost 4 hours long. And at a certain point, I just thought, you know what? Just do it, man. Just watch it. And if you don't, if I wait for a 4 hour window to watch this thing, it's never going to happen. So I'm just
like someone talking themselves into bungee jumping.
And so, I watched over a couple sittings, but.
Oh, here we go. Shut up, Sean. You don't like that, Frank? I felt like that would be something you'd...
No, I do not.
Not a banger?
No, I do not. Yeah, if you watched that movie when you were 10, you'd be like, I always listen to the Falling in Love soundtrack. I think I'm going to put it on tonight. I think I'm going to put it on before I go to bed tonight.
That is 100% true.
I was just listening to it the other day in the car while I was driving to Costco. Yeah.
I would be saying that. That's right.
So, well, I mean, speaking of soundtracks, you got to cue up a song from the Once Upon a Time in America score here, Jay, because this has got some bangers for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, have some of these been used? Like the pan flute one, I think it's called Childhood Memories. It's been used in something. I don't know, like if it's a Tarantino movie, I don't know what it is. It's definitely been used in something. But
sure you want to go down this road, Sean?
I mean, I've boba boba.
I love that. Sean sounds like, what does he sound like?
Boba boba.
Like a gremlin or something?
Boba boba. Boba boba.
He sounds like I know it is. I know what it is.
He thinks he sounds like E.T.
Yes, he does. I don't know what the music, Sean. It sounds like Karate Kid, but I mean,
yeah,
you sound like E.T., dude. You sound like E.T.
The Karate Kid came out the same year as this movie, right?
Yeah, it did. But I don't know. Maybe it hasn't been used anywhere else, but I swear I've heard it before, as well as the main theme. But boba boba. Boba boba.
He sounds like E.T.
Boba boba.
I don't think he sounds anything like E.T.
Boba boba. I'm not hearing it personally, but hey.
Oh my god! Just leave a comment. Does Sean sound like E.T.?
So anyway, Once Upon a Time in America, great movie, directed by Sergio Leone. It's not an Italian gang. They're actually Jewish in this, and it kind of follows you start, it's kind of like Godfather 2 in that it spans a long period of time, and you see his childhood and sort of starting a gang with a bunch of kids, and then they get older and things happen. And they have a falling out, and he comes back to town later. And anyway, like I think part of it is these kids learn that they can do whatever they want and take whatever they want in life, and then as grown men, they essentially are the same. But it's I thought it was great. I mean, it's just one of those, you watch an older movie every now and then. Maybe it's classitosis, I don't know, but you're just like, man, they don't make them like this anymore. And some iconic imagery in this movie. I have to mention De Niro's. I have to mention De Niro's character is named Noodles in this. You have an Offspring drop ready to go, Jay?
No, they're all gone. They've been replaced by Whoopi Goldberg and Boba.
It's too bad. But, yeah, I really liked it. I mean, it is long. I can't comment on if you watch it in one sitting, if it's too long, but I think it's pretty epic. And I think it, spends a lot of time with the characters. I think.
How many sittings did it take you, Sean?
Approximately three sittings. And, I recommend this to a lot of people who are scared off by the runtimes of certain movies. And, maybe you have no problem binging 3 or 4 episodes of your favorite TV show, but you just can't spend 3 or 4 hours in your life to watch a classic film. Just watch it in a couple sittings. Just do it.
Or in a couple.
But the poopy method.
Yes, what a perfect day.
Boba, boba. Boba, boba. I mean, you're kind of reaching at this point.
He's definitely
You want to
reaching.
call somebody?
What have you been reading?
Boba, boba.
It sounds so much like E.T. Holy dude.
Throw a little effect on there, maybe. But
No, that's the crazy thing. Without any effects, that's E.T.
So that's a big, I would say, all-encompassing FJ clip. There's a lot of layers there. Drew, why is that one of the best clips and best moments of the year?
Well, I always love when Jay goes on tangents like this. The ET connection is definitely there. Sean definitely sounds like ET. And that film or that clip of Sean saying "Boba Boba" is awesome. That actually goes back to 2021, but yeah, it was just a great riff. Jay's been doing a lot of riffs these days, and you can see it on the Junk Mail episodes. He does little DJ sets, and yeah, it's great. I always love it.
Yeah, there's for me, there's like a ton there in regards to like they're doing their trying to figure out music thing, which is like that's classic film junk, playing drops, and then Jay's making fun of everybody and cutting people off, and really there's just so much there that it screams film junk to me. And then the resulting memes that came out of that for Sean in the Discord, just a lot of fun for the year. And like the Boba Boba, I think will live forever. That's just totally associated with Sean now. And I guess the big question, do you think it sounds like E.T.?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. Maybe not exactly, but I can hear it. So yeah.
And yeah, the joy that Jay has from trying to prove that point, even though he kind of forces it home. I think by the end, I'm on board with E.T. Sean. Phone home.
For sure. I actually would have liked to hear some more exploration of the music thing, because I do love that little piece of music from Once Upon a Time in America. But yeah, that's one minor quibble. That's one minor quibble.
You like the pan flute?
Yeah, I love that. It's awesome.
You like Lonely Shepherd from Kill Bill?
Yeah, is it in Kill Bill?
Yeah, not that song, but there's some Zamfir that's very similar.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Definitely check out Zamfir if you're loving the pan flute, because Zamfir is the king of the pan flute.
Well, yeah, when you say Zamfir, that sounds very familiar. I think I've heard it, but yeah, it's great stuff.
All right, let's get to the number one here. I think I'll just play the clip. I don't really think there could be anything else. So when Drew brought it to the table, it was obvious what the number one film junk moment of 2022 would be.
When people look at films that are super beloved and then they hear stories about the difficulties or tragedies that happen on set, they then go on to ascribe that production as cursed.
Wizard of Oz, Cannibal Holocaust, The Serpent and the Rainbow, Stalkers.
Rosemary's Baby. After the film was made,
Some unsettling things happened. Supposedly, the voodoo priest had put a curse on him.
One of the Munchkins hung himself. It wasn't even noticed at the time of the release.
William Castle's kidney stopped working. He was convinced he saw the reflection of the devil in the surgeon's knife.
There is an idea that if you make a wicked film, you're opening yourself up to forces that could influence your life in a negative way.
We have a weird homicide.
Charles Manson said he was inspired by songs on the White Album.
The Dakota where it was filmed, John Lennon was murdered right in front of it.
They started to riot.
We had to get out of Haiti.
I always have a hard time talking about this.
You can find a connection between anything if you look hard enough, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true.
The important thing is to separate the legend from the truth.
Was this film cursed?
I don't know. It's all part of the myth.
So there we have it. Cursed Films, Season 2. Why is that number one, Drew?
I just think it's the clear choice. It's a great series. It's one of the best things, best shows I've seen this year. And it's always cool to see Jay get bigger and better with everything he does. In the last few years, the world has gone through a lot, and I think you would expect him to maybe dip in quality, at least slightly, not totally, but slightly. But he doesn't at all. He ups his game with interview subjects. It was great to see Greg Turkington in there. And that's just something because I'm a non-cinema fan. I love that. And in terms of like prestige, like he's got Roger Deakins, which is pretty crazy. And it was a great series. Like he could have easily leaned on, doing Zoom interviews or something, and he didn't. In the middle of the pandemic, Jay was going to Italy, and he was going to the States, and he was globetrotting, all in the name of making a quality show. And so I think it's the easy number one this year. Like any year where we get a piece of work from Jay Cheel is a great year.
And made even more important because Diodato just passed away like last week, right? So it's like even more elevated. And I think for me, when if you've just started listening to Film Junk, it's going to be awesome because you're like, oh man, it's so cool that Jay makes these awesome documentaries. But for us, we literally we're listening to Film Junk when Jay's like, I hope I can make documentaries, right? Yeah. And so for us, it is like a huge deal anytime he makes something, anytime it gets released. And then again, we were watching it when it was like, oh, they shot for a couple weekends and put something out online, you know what I mean? And so to be able to see literally the incubation of someone's career to the point where it is now, it's so amazing. It's so inspiring. And it really is like the essence of what Film Junk is, which is keep creating always, no matter what your audience is, no matter what your numbers are, do it because you love to do it, because it matters, and be supportive. And I think that's the big thing for all of Jay's output, which is celebrating people's creativity and their passion and getting to be able to shine a light on some stuff, particularly within Cursed Films, where forever these films were just, they're just Cursed Film, and it trivialized what they were. Like, what they were was a collective experience by a bunch of creatives who then were able to produce something, whether it was good or bad in the end. It was still the work of a bunch of people being passionate about what they were doing. And I think Cursed Films really shines a light on that and humanizes all of the films in a way that had, in my opinion, had never been done before. Like particularly for like say Poltergeist and then in this season, even like Wizard of Oz, I think really changed some of the like less important stuff that was always the things that were being talked about. So Jay really took the film junk essence and he like grew it and made it into something that is really remarkable to see.
Yeah, it was great. And like, not to get too sappy, but like what you were talking about with how we as film junk fans, or me and you and some other people out there that have been following it since like 2007, like it's different for us to see where he's gone. And like, you know, this will sound weird to say, but I feel like it's one of the cooler parts of my life, just getting to see this guy progress and seeing his career, you know, blossom and getting to know him a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying I really know him, but like, you know, this year I got to do interviews with him, and yeah, it's just awesome. It's been awesome to see his career come along all these years. Like I was there when the biggest thing he had ever made was The Running Tunnel. And that wasn't really the biggest thing he'd ever made. He made Obsessed and Scientific at that point as a student film, which if anybody hasn't seen that, it's a great student film. He had interviewed Michio Kaku, who is he's been on many podcasts and whatnot. But yeah, it's always been really cool to see where he's gone. It was great finally getting to see Beauty Day when that first came out. It was obviously great getting to see how to build a time machine. I got to see that sort of in the theater. It was like at a sort of repertory place in Houston. It was like in a church, so it wasn't exactly a theater, but it was still a pretty cool experience. And then eventually getting to see Cursed Films 1 and 2. And in terms of like the technical side, I think he's advanced in this too. He's using like film. He's got a great cinematographer. I'm not sure if it's the same cinematographer as season 1. It might be. But it was the guy who's like cinematographer for like The Dirties and like in those films, the Matt Johnson films.
Jared Robb, I think. I'm not sure if he's the cinematographer, but I know Jared was involved with that stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is the cinematographer of Cursed Films. It's season 2 for sure, but I'm not sure about season 1. But like some of the film stuff they shot, like the scenes where the witch is coming through the trap door, like some of that stuff, I wasn't sure if that was even stuff they shot. I thought that might have been like archival, which may sound silly to say because I don't know that would have been something they would have captured, but it just looks so authentic. And yeah, that stuff is fantastic.
Sorry, I'm just looking up this Cursed Film stuff. So Jared Robb did the episodes for season 1. Let me just find this. Yeah, so it looks like he was involved as a DP, but it looked like there was Mike McLaughlin and Scott McClellan as well involved. So not sure how many of, I'm not sure if they were doing all episodes or what, but he is a very good cinematographer. He's going to be doing the new Matt Johnson film Blackberry, which is in post-production, which I am psyched about. And I mean, for Jay to be working with him, that was a big deal for me as a huge like Matt Johnson fan. And like we're getting like sappy here, but it is like it's one of those things where whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing, just do it to the best of your ability and just keep going. And that's what Film Junk, to me, at the end of the day, at the end of 2022, is all about. And that's how you become the world's longest running film podcast and get in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I can't think of any other podcasts. I can think of a couple other podcasts, or maybe like 1 or 2, that have been going that long or longer, but they're not film related. But yeah, I can't think of any other film podcast that's been going since 2005. And really, if you think about it, even before that. So, because they were doing radio shows, they had a blog. They've been around for just about 20 years. So, it's pretty crazy.
So, Drew, let's bring this episode to a close. Do you have any well wishes for the listeners for 2023?
Yeah, I hope everyone has a great year. I think it's going to be a good one. And hopefully it'll be a great year for Mouthbreathers Radio, and we can progress and get bigger and better. But one small thing I want to mention, I think we forgot to mention this at the top, but we do have, we're on Apple Podcasts now, and we have some RSS feeds out there, so you can listen to us without having to go to my Patreon or having to listen on YouTube. So that's good.
And as of today, we're on Spotify as well. Google, it looks like it was up, but I don't know if it's working. But it is up there. It's also up on Amazon, but that one is weird as well. So I think those ones might take a little bit, but 100% tested on Spotify and Apple, so you should be able to make it a little bit easier to listen. And yeah, thanks for everybody checking it out so far. And then we're gonna just keep on trucking, just like the FJ guys do, into 2023. So on that note, I am FilmApe,
and I'm Drew,
and we're saying talk to you later.
Bye.